Hello all my friends in the southeast U.S. I'm John Feldt. This is the weekly water outlook. I wanted to start out by showing the big picture over the nation. We're getting into summertime and we have scattered precipitations. We have a lot of mesoscale type forcings versus synoptic scale. In other words, smaller scale, much harder to predict, much more scattered, but depending how fast they're moving, they can produce heavy rain. So you see areas in green and blue, those are excess amounts of rain for the week, and you see areas in yellow which are negative or deficits of rain for the week. So over the southeast U.S., you see these pockets of above normal precipitation, primarily over northern Alabama, northern Georgia, and the eastern Carolinas. Everywhere else, it's a much more scattered. So we're definitely in a summer type regime, with some areas receiving excess rain, other areas receiving less than normal rainfall. And you can see that if we take a close-up over the last 7 days of the observed rainfall, a couple things stand out to me. First of all, that most of the southeast U.S. got some rain. We're continuing that trend. Matter of fact, I'm going to be talking about how the southeast U.S. is standing out, even in relationship to the entire nation, with this consistency and persistent rainfall pattern. And I'll give you a hint to my briefing, it's going to continue into the foreseeable future. So anyway, this is the observed rainfall for the last 7 days. Green is up to 2 inches of rain, generally between a ½ inch and an inch, however, and the yellow is more significant. So like I said, most of the southeast U.S. receives some rain, but really northern Alabama, northern Georgia, eastern Carolinas, and Florida were the areas that received the more significant, heavier amounts of precipitation. I did want to mention areas of topsoil moisture deficits and surpluses. Green are areas of adequate or excess soil moisture. I did want to point out that the entire southeast U.S. is in good shape as far as soil moisture, and with the frequency of rain events, I think that's going to stay, if not normal, perhaps even above normal. Now, stream flow is related very closely to topsoil moisture. When the soil is saturated, we get more runoff, especially in summertime with the foliage in full bloom. What we see here is quite a change from a year ago, but what we do see here is blue is above normal stream flow. Look at the ACF basin. The upper parts in particular are much above normal. Most of the river systems, the major river systems across the southeast U.S. range from normal to above normal. So I think not too long down the line, we're going to be having to look at this as far as vulnerability to tropical moisture and tropical systems. Right now, just an early hint that we are somewhat vulnerable now for tropical season. So it's one of these things that, yes, it's good that we recharge reservoirs and streams, and ecosystem health is probably improving due to the more frequent rainfall, but at the same time, it is something we need to sort of keep an eye on as far as vulnerability over the next couple months as we get into more into the tropical system or season. Okay, so let's take a look at the current steering winds across the region. Right now, this is the flow. We have the jet stream coming in from the eastern U.S. or the western U.S. and then carving up towards the north, and we're going to have very major changes this week. Blue is the jet stream early this week, and it sort of flows roughly from west to east with a little bit of a bulge in the west, a little bit of a trough or dip in the east. But look at by late this week, it really builds in the west and dips in the east. And then by next week, it really bulges all the way up into Canada, dips all the way down towards the southeast U.S. next week. This is a highly amplified pattern. And basically, and this is very generally, this means hot and dry in the west, cooler and wet in the east. The southeast is going to be on the edge of that enhanced rainfall, with the northeast U.S. and mid-Atlantic wetter, but it still looks like this will bring plenty of energy over the southeast U.S. to produce frequent, scattered to even numerous rainfall. Now, this is a persistent pattern, so we're looking at not just this week. It looks like the next 2 weeks very likely will be under this type of pattern in one form or another. It's not going to stay exactly like this. It'll be shifting around. So the rainfall patterns over the next 7 days, I put the solid red line sort of under that area of the bulging ridge of high pressure. That's the dry and hot area. Anything to the east of that looks quite wet, and it really looks like most of the energy will be from eastern Alabama, across Georgia, eastern parts of Kentucky, Tennessee, and into the Carolinas, into Virginia. And then further to the west, we'll begin to get more and more under the impact of the ridge of high pressure and drying out. So not as much rain over the western part of the southeast U.S. than over the eastern part of the southeast U.S. And of course, we always have that enhancement of precipitation over higher elevations should we get the energy there and precipitation forming over the southern part of the Appalachians. Now, I wanted to take a look at the 6 to 10 day and the 8 to 14 day, just sort of a hint to see at the patterns that it's showing. I wouldn't get too hung up with the amounts of rain here, but just general trends. And remember, I said that jet stream is going to remain somewhat unchanged. So the 6 to 10 day, yellow, oranges, and reds are precipitation. And what you can see is that it still shows a fairly strong signal for scattered, more days than not, chances of rain over the southeast U.S. And if we go to the 8 to 14 day range, it even shows heavier amounts of rain over the area. Now, this is getting out there pretty far, and this could change very significantly. But right now, it looks like over the next 2 weeks, more likely we're going to average above normal rainfall over most of the southeast U.S., with perhaps the exception of western parts of Kentucky, Tennessee, north Mississippi, perhaps far northwest Alabama. So soil moisture changes. As you might suspect, blues are increasing soil moisture. You can see this model. This is just for 1 week, week 1 here. And browns are decreasing soil moisture. So any decreases over the southeast U.S., with the exception of far western parts of Kentucky and Tennessee, are very modest. And most of the southeast U.S. will continue to increase upper soil moisture. So the takeaway from this week's briefing: daily chances of precipitation. Not every day, but at least somewhere in the southeast U.S. there should be a chance of showers or thunderstorms. Start to keep an eye on the vulnerability if we continue to wet upper soils with tropical weather down the road. There's nothing expected right now, but let's keep that in mind. And then I don't really see much change of this pattern into July. Now, we'll be updating information throughout the week, working on my newsletter where I talk about feedback loops, and I think we could be getting one over the southeast U.S. I'll be talking about that. I appreciate you listening to this week's briefing, and I will be updating this and talking to you again next week. Thank you.